Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today for the Autism Spectrum Disorders Advisory Committee meeting. I'm Courtney Burke, Chair of the Advisory Board, and we have a lot of folks online today. I saw at least 18 or so. I know some of those are agency staff and some are members of the Advisory Board. We have a handful of folks here in the room as well. I think we'll skip the introductions of everybody today. I'll give a brief overview of the agenda, and then for the first agenda item, I will end up turning it over to Rachel. But just briefly, we have two guest speakers today. Andrew Fowler from the New York State Police Field Unit, I believe, is going to talk about autism awareness Visor cards that the state police are using now. We also have Shalani Winston from the transition programs, the transition specifically related to individuals with autism who are transitioning from school to college. Then we will have two updates from our member agencies, the Council on Developmental Disabilities and the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. We have a resolution that we're going to vote on relating to lighting landmarks for World Autism Day. And a few members of the board had some other issues they wanted to discuss, so we set aside some time for open board discussion. And then we'll do our usual public comment period before closing out today. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Rachel Baker. Rachel and I had talked a few weeks ago about this. As much as we like to be somewhat informal on this advisory board, that we believed it needed a little bit tidying up of the governance, because we don't actually have a lot of good governance in place. And so we wanted to make that happen before the end of the year. So I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to talk about what that's all about.
Thank you, Courtney. Colleen, could you move to, I think, slide 3 or 4 or 5? Thank you. Thank you. So yes, as Courtney said, we've been talking about board governance and ways we can just really cement how the board operates and rules for how it functions. So there are 3 sort of documents or agreements that govern how boards in New York State operate. So first, there's the legislation, which outlines board powers and responsibilities. Next, boards have bylaws that govern how the board operates and how they make decisions. And finally, boards have a code of ethics, also known as a code of conduct, that sets standards for the conduct of a board member. Next slide. Yep. So first, there's the legislation. The ASD board was created in 2016 under Mental Hygiene Law, Article 13, Section 13.42. It outlines the composition of the board and its duties and responsibilities. Those responsibilities are to study and review the effectiveness of supports and services, identify legislative and regulatory activity needed to improve supports and services, improve interagency coordination, improve outreach and coordination for minority groups, and other matters as deemed appropriate by the board. Bylaws are rules that regulate how an organization operates and makes decisions. They typically include details on meeting process, like whether a member attends in person or virtually, and how to calculate quorum, which is the term for how many people you need in attendance to take a vote. It also includes things like if and how a subcommittee functions and how recommendations are made and passed. Finally, we have the Code of Ethics, which is a set of principles and policies that guide member conduct. It typically includes things like if and how a subcommittee functions and how recommendations are made and passed. And so in 2026, so the next year, because we do not right now have bylaws or a code of conduct, we are going to work together to build a set of resources that will help us set standards and have processes so things run more smoothly, and we'll all have agreement on how the board operates. For example, this could include clear processes for how to hold formal vote on resolutions and when and how to share board recommendations and when and how subcommittees work. So some of our time next year will go towards developing and agreeing on those bylaws as a group. So when in the future, if we have a need for a subcommittee to address an important topic, we all know exactly what to expect. Any questions before our first visitor of the day goes?
Okay, well, thanks, Rachel. I think it's important that we pay attention to all this and put some of this in place for the coming year. I don't hear any comments or see any hands raised from our board members. So if there are no comments, I'm going to move on to introduce our first presenter today. So Major Andrew Fowler, who is of the Field Command and Uniform Force Section of the New York State Police, is here today with us. So we appreciate him taking the time to talk to us. He's going to introduce us to the new Autism Awareness Visor Card program that he initiated within the state police. So welcome.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you for taking the time to discuss this program. It really came about pretty quickly over this past summer, spring. I began looking for ways that we could better serve the public, and one of those, and in that research, I saw that there were multiple agencies within New York State as well as adjoining states that were using some sort of platform in communicating with people with autism as well as other communication disorders. Most notably in New York State, the New York State Sheriff's Association utilizes their Blue Envelope program. But what really drew my attention was something that was occurring in Long Island and Suffolk County. And the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office had collaborated with the Winters Center for Autism. And they created a very nice template for their law enforcement officers to engage with the public. And it provided a card that could be utilized to ease any type of confusion, de-escalate any kind of situation that may have been escalating. And it was a simplified card that was able to be used by anyone with little to no training. I reached out to the Winter Center as well as the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office to get more information. And from those conversations, we adapted one that the New York State Police, it was endorsed by the superintendent as well as our Deputy Superintendent of Field Command. And we saw it as an opportunity to bridge a gap with the citizens in New York State. We have over 1.5 to 2 million public contacts with the state police alone, whether through traffic stops, criminal investigations, or complaints. And these are a great opportunity for our troopers to work with the public and to try to bridge a gap that we noticed that could result in a communication barrier and de-escalate any type of situation that didn't need to escalate any further than where it was. So we rolled those out in the fall this year, and we put them in every marked and unmarked patrol vehicle. So that's roughly 1,600 vehicles across the state. Every trooper was notified of it, where it is. It's an accountable item in our vehicles, so they know it exists, where it is, and it's in the same spot in every car. We also offered it to the public to download from our public website so that they could print it, laminate it, do whatever they wanted, and they utilized the same card. That was very important to me. I thought the same template should be used so there's no confusion as law enforcement uses one card, the public uses a different card. We're both using the same card. Everybody understands what it says. Completely voluntary on the part of the public, of course, as well as our members. We offer it to them as a tool, as we do with everything else that we give them. Every piece of equipment is a tool. Not every tool is used on every job. And sometimes they don't need it. But we want them to be able to draw back and reach back for those things when they reach a point in an interaction that they feel that they're struggling, and that they can use this to help ease whatever tensions might be rising. So far, we've had a lot of public response to it through the social media campaign that our public information office did, as well as a traditional media campaign. We've tried to send out as many cards as we could to those who requested them. Of course, we have a limited amount ourselves that we could provide, but that's why we wanted the public to be able to print the same exact version and carry it themselves. Overall, we've received, like I said, it's a lot of positive feedback. It's been going well. There has been no issues that I've been apprised of. And we're just excited to see it continue in the future, make any edits to it as we see moving forward, anything that we see that may work better or is not working quite as well, and with input from the community.
Yeah, this is tremendous. I think it very positive development. Appreciate your work on this personally. I don't know if any members of the advisory board have any questions or would also like to express their appreciation for what Andrew and the state police are doing?
I think this is really good. I think it's with this video. Hold on. I think that this is very important, especially any interactions with law enforcement and people on the spectrum. So this is really good. I like that it's visual as well, and that they're color coded. I think this is going to help a lot of people. I already have some instances in my head where I'm thinking, this could help someone. So this is really good, and thank you for doing this, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful also. As a follow-up to this, is there any discussion maybe of being able to provide a license plate with some marking? The only reason I say that is I know I had an incident with a family and their son where the lights and everything was so overwhelming when they were approached by a policeman, and the policeman didn't know prior, obviously, that the gentleman had autism, and it really did create an unfortunate event. So I'm just wondering if there's anything as a follow-through on this, so that before the policeman approaches the car, there's some way of knowing if the young men or women want that to be known.
To my knowledge, I'm not aware of that. I mean, that would be more of the Department of Motor Vehicles that would have to initiate something like that. And I'm sure there's an immense amount of privacy concerns and possibly HIPAA issues that could come up. But I do see the value in something like that. Unfortunately, that would be out of the purview of the state police.
Understood.
I guess to address two things. So, Charles, one of the things I've seen done is a sticker that you could put on the back of the car, so you don't really know what it is. Kind of like I'm part of the caving community, and we have a yellow bat sticker that people don't know what that means, except for if you're in the community or if you kind of are in the know. So that might be a way that you could kind of supplement that. Instead of like a license plate, you could have a sticker on the back of the car. As long as people know what it is, at least the police know what it is. There's also another program called Vitals that Minnesota does, where it's actually an RFID card where if you come in proximity on the first responder's phone, it actually pulls up any information the person wants to provide. So you can provide like medication lists or like communication barriers, stuff like that. But this is a great thing. It was nice to see kind of doing some of the autism advocacy work around the country. First responder interactions, there is a very deep mistrust between the autism community and first responders. Speaking as a former first responder who's autistic. I think this is a great program. The only issue I would have is kind of a lot of people don't have printers anymore. So that might be something where maybe the board could maybe help with the getting more copies of it printed and distributed. Just because I know I haven't owned a printer in probably about 10 years now. And a lot of people of millennials and Gen Z don't really have printers anymore. Yeah, I think this is a great program and excited to see the state police implementing it. Yeah, and it'd be nice too. Maybe we have a conversation now with for coming up with a version of this for police and not for police for fire and EMS. Kind of having a New York State one kind of along these lines. Especially for emergency medical services, it would be nice to have an EMT. I know we had finger spellers and stuff like that, but having something from New York State might be more meaningful. So,
Yeah, great ideas. Thank you, Mike. I think Kristen here in the room, you had to comment.
So thank you for your leadership on this initiative. We at the Council on Developmental Disabilities have a member who is on the autism spectrum, and he's very much involved with the Sheriff's Department in Ulster County and the Blue Envelope program, and has been trying to spread the word within Ulster County about that program. Can you tell me a little bit about the differences between your initiative and the Blue Envelope program, which I know many sheriff's departments across the state have taken on?
Sure. Yeah. The key difference that I see is that this card we carry, the state police are familiar with it, and we are equipping our members with it. Whereas the Blue Envelope program, the onus is on the individual to have that envelope with them to provide it to the law enforcement officer or whomever they're dealing with. Whereas we have kind of given the awareness to our members that if, hey, if you're recognizing this communication issue or any other circumstance, draw to this card, see if it helps. That's where I think the key difference is. Whereas, you know, a citizen or a member of the public might be experiencing a series of emotions. They may forget that they even have the blue envelope with them, forget to give it. Whereas I would hope most of the time of our troopers, they're going to think about the various tools that they have and look to draw from this and hope to ease any tensions that might be rising and make somebody feel a little more comfortable.
That's great. Thank you. So they're really complementary, not overlapping at all. That's
Correct.
great. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments, questions? Oh. Hold on one second. Looks like we got a write-in question potentially.
A lot of the questions or comments are really just thank yous. There's a lot of people who are like thanking the state police for undertaking this effort. And calling out just local regions, sheriff's departments that have similar intentions, right? I don't think that the same type of program, but that there's also local police that are doing similar things. The one question that was more a question is, do you know of the card actually being used yet and being useful in any specific scenarios?
To date, no, I'm not. We also didn't require anybody to report usage of it. However, we do review, all of our members wear body-worn cameras. So there's often a review process by supervisors and multiple layers of supervision. And I hope, and I have put out an inquiry to them. If you see the card being useful as a part of these mandatory supervisory reviews that you're doing of every member's body-worn camera, please let me know. Or if it did not work, I also want to know why it didn't work or how it was delivered, the various aspects of positives and negatives of the use of the card. So I'm hoping as it is out there longer, we'll get more of those interactions captured on body cam that we can then glean some better information from to see what's working, what's not working, what should be changed, or if it should be kept exactly the same.
Okay, well, again, thank you for your leadership and thank you for being here today and sharing this information with us. Obviously, people are very pleased, so thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our next presentation, and our second guest today is Shalani Winston. She's the CEO of the Arc Lexington and head of their transitions program, which helps autistic young adults build academic and life skills to transition from high school to college, careers, and beyond. So welcome, Shalani.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here. We had a slide deck and I'm hopeful that somebody's going to help us with that. There we go. So thank you so much. We really appreciate being invited to do this. We love to be able to talk about transition. I am here with Penny Rivenberg, who actually heads our transitions program. And she's in the panel with the participant Lauren Repples, just making sure that they are able to talk at some point. So at the Arc Lexington, we empower more than 1,300 people with autism and developmental disabilities across Fulton, Albany, and Schoharie counties to live their best lives every day. We partner with their families and, most importantly, our 1,700 employees and, of course, our communities. One of the things we're very, very proud of is that we are one of 9 organizations worldwide to have achieved accreditation with distinction from CQL for person-centered excellence. So everything we do uses personal outcome measures as a basis, and we begin with the belief that every person can learn, grow, and thrive when given the right support. Next slide, please. Transitions is our signature program for young adults ages 16 to 27 with autism and learning differences. It helps them prepare for success in college, careers, and independent living through individualized paths. And we have 3 paths. We have the first path that is to experience college and earn a workforce micro-credential from the college. The second path is for the young adults that are on their path to earn a college degree. And finally, upon request from families, we created a third path in partnership with our Inclusive Arts Center to explore the creative arts. We operate in Mayfield, Albany, and Cobleskill, where students live and learn in a vibrant, inclusive, and walkable communities. I thought the best way for you to learn about transitions is from one of our students directly. So I'm proud to introduce you to Jordan Sprague, one of our outstanding transition students, who will share his personal journey and show you what transitions looks like through a student's eyes. Next slide, please. And Jordan, take it from here.
Thank you, Shaloni. Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hey everyone, I'm Jordan Sprague, and yeah, the title kind of gives it away. This is my story, from being a kid obsessed with Elvis Presley to becoming the student senate president. It's kind of wild. Next slide, please. After high school, I really didn't know what was next for me. My big dream was to live on my own and get a part-time job, probably in fast food, because I like McDonald's, and play video games. But without direction, I started making not so great decisions. The only thing I really had going for me was my love for Elvis. And let's be honest, who doesn't love Elvis? I was messy, I didn't care about what I looked like or how people viewed me. Next slide, please. When I started transitions, I'll be honest, it was rough. I didn't have the best habits and motivation, but my mentors and my teachers saw something in me and I didn't yet see myself. They showed me what it was like to build a positive life, and then I started paying attention. Next slide, please. At Transitions, we take real SUNY classes and earn us college credits and micro-credentials. That's when things clicked. I started realizing my strengths and I found my voice. I wanted to lead, I wanted to make a difference. Every semester, things started making more sense and I wanted more. Next slide, please. I got involved. I joined clubs. I made friends. And yeah, I was actually started cleaning my room. And it was a big deal. I ran for student senate representative, and I worked very hard to campaign, and I won. The next year, I ran for president, and I won as the first African American student body president for FMCC. Now I represent students at conferences, and I sit on the board of directors. Crazy, right? Next slide, please. One of my proudest moments was going to the Capitol to advocate supports for neurodiverse people, students like me, and had real conversations with assemblymen, senators about how to make my college and college in the world more inclusive. It feels good to know my voice matters. Next slide, please. Next year, I'm transferring to SUNY Albany to study political sciences. My goal? To keep growing, to keep leading, and to one day make an impact in my government or advocacy. The future is pretty awesome. Next slide, please. When I look back, I barely recognize that kid who started transitions. I'm more confident, I'm more happier, and I'm more healthier. And yes, my room actually looks livable now. Transitions gave me the tools, but I had to work for it, and I did. Thank you for listening. Next slide, please. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you could take one thing from my story, it's this. It's not about where you start, it's about where you're headed. Thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome.
So next slide. You notice there's a little box with a mic drop there, right? So thank you, Jordan. Your story beautifully captures what transitions is all about. So pictured on this slide is our 3 locations, and in each of those locations, we partner with the colleges, we collaborate with the colleges. And as you heard from Jordan, Jordan started in our what we call our career track, where you experience college and you're on a workforce micro-credential. But when he achieved success in those college classes that were related to the micro-credentials, he quickly moved to the college track. Several of our students do that, and others remain in the career track and go into the workforce. Next slide. So the question is, how do we do this? So our approach is rooted in partnership. We're very proud of what we do at the Arc Lexington, but when we developed this model, we knew that we needed to create partners, particularly in education, in businesses, in colleges, employers, and families. We built this curriculum based on an evidence-based curriculum. And what sets us apart is that we develop the whole person. We develop academics, social, emotional, and practical skills to live life. Students receive academic supports and tutoring, internship and job coaching, and a residential living experience in apartments that are located in walkable communities where they learn to live as young adults. They learn to shop locally, manage their daily routines, to do their banking or going to the pharmacy, all of their social activities that they're able to do, and truly practicing independence to live like the young adults that they are after they graduate from our programs. A unique part of our program is the peer mentor model. All of our staff, not volunteers, all of our staff are current college students or recent graduates who are personally walking this path in their own lives. They help our students adjust, build confidence, and stay motivated because our students see our mentors as role models, and seeing them, they feel, well, if they can do it, so can I. Next slide, please. At Transitions, we teach what we call the 3 R's of transition. These aren't just life skills. We, of course, teach life skills, but we focus on the bigger picture of life principles because the specific skills needed change with life circumstances. But life principles carry our students to success in every stage of life. So the first R in our 3 R's is regulation. And this is where we focus on self-management and resilience. For many neurodiverse young adults, managing emotions, time, and change can be some of the hardest parts of growing up. So we intentionally teach them how to self-regulate, how to recognize when they're overwhelmed, organize their thoughts, manage their time, and handle change, and yes, handle disappointment as well in healthy ways. We use real-world experiences, classes, apartment living, internships, time in the community as opportunities to practice those skills in the moment. This focus on self-management and resilience is what allows our students to build confidence, independence, and long-term success. I should have mentioned this before, but as you see our slides, every photo that's in a slide is a real photo. It's of our programs, our students. So even if you aren't there in person, we hope that you'll be able to get a feel for how different our programs and students are. Next slide, please. The second R is responsibility. Students learn to take ownership of their choices and their lives through self-discovery, which is learning about their disability, what their strengths are, where do they need help. They set their goals, They problem solve their concerns, and they learn when to ask for help. This curriculum was developed by a head of curricula who is a neurodiverse young adult herself in partnership with the Center for Autism Excellence at Virginia Commonwealth University. This sense of self-awareness and personal responsibility is what turns learning into independence. I'm sure that even on this little screen, you were able to witness that in Jordan. Next slide, please. The third R is relationships, learning how to connect, communicate, and contribute to the world around you. Many of our students find social interactions challenging. So we build these skills intentionally, developing empathy and tolerance, learning how to navigate workplace relationships, expanding hobbies and conversation topics, and understanding how to be helpful, not just be helped. We even include details like personal appearance and social cues using peers and evidence-based curriculum from UCLA. These seem small, but they truly build trust and belonging. Next slide. Most young adults tell us that they want to be independent, to live on their own and make their own decisions. But what we teach is that real success comes from interdependence, building a strong support network. We help our students create a circle of people who see their capabilities and are invested in their success. Parents, friends, coworkers, mentors, college supports, and family. They learn to communicate with that network, ask for help appropriately, and just as important, give back to others in return. When they realize that success happens with others, not apart from them, everything changes. Their confidence grows, their anxiety lessens, and they begin to thrive. Next slide. These are two pictures of many areas in our programs that provide space for relaxation and regrouping. For many neurodiverse young adults, the world can feel like a foreign country, one where they're constantly decoding a language that doesn't come naturally. That decoding takes energy, and without the right tools, it can quickly lead to stress and overwhelm them. That's why we teach our students how to relax and regroup, how to rest and recharge intentionally and purposefully. Partnering with Mayo Clinic, we teach mindfulness, stress management, time management, and ways to pause before things become unmanageable. We don't see this as optional or a luxury. It's a lifelong skill that helps them stay grounded and resilient. Next slide. So here's what success looks like in practice. In 2025 spring, we had 22 students graduate with degrees or micro-credentials. On our college track, we supported 34 students who completed over 340 college credit hours with an average GPA of 3.3. Our students are actively involved in college clubs and fully engaged in the use of tutoring services and other supports regularly. Why that is important is oftentimes when we don't see young people succeed in college, it's because they're not using the supports that is available to them. And we, again, as part of our training, we teach our students it's about interdependence. It's about learning what you're good at and where you're going to need some help and how to get that help and support regularly. On our career track, we supported 81 students. 71 had successful internships, The ones that did not is simply because when students first start, they may get overwhelmed. So we try to keep their schedule a little lighter in the beginning. 35 were in paid employment and 43 served in valued community roles. Through partnerships with local businesses in healthcare, retail, hospitality, technology, and the arts, our students gained real-world experience and purpose. Next slide, please. So beyond college and work, there's life. Transitions help students build meaningful lives. 84% of our students participated in 4 or more social activities every week. When they start in our program in the beginning, we provide those social activities. And part of their learning is that over time, they develop those social, they come up with it on their own, they come up with the ideas, they organize it, they make it happen. Because as an adult, you have to find ways to keep your social life active. Nobody is going to do that for you. 91% of our students moved to more independent apartments after their first year. And each semester, more and more students are earning driver's permit or licenses, a huge symbol of freedom and achievement. Each of these numbers represent confidence, connection, and growth, not just statistics, but real progress towards a full life. Next slide. Just some pictures to show you where our students are. These photos capture what we see every day, joy and accomplishment and confidence. Each one of these moments reflect a student who has found their voice and their place in the world. Next slide. This next slide is a picture of each of our locations. The top one on the left is our Albany location, which is in the back of the Stuyvesant Plaza, for those of you who are familiar. Sorry, the one on the right top is that. The one on the left top is our location in Mayfield. The one in the middle is, again, our Albany Stuyvesant Plaza location. The bottom left is our opening location at SUNY Cobleskill, where we were invited to open a program there after President Terenzio of SUNY Cobleskill came and visited our Mayfield location. Just because there was another meeting that she attended, she did a tour, loved it, and wanted to bring it to her college to support students. So we are based right at the SUNY Cobleskill campus. The picture on the bottom right is our location from the outside in Mayfield. It is co-located with the Paul Niagara Center for Creative Arts, which is an inclusive community arts center where people with disabilities do art, engage in art just with the public, just like anywhere else. It is also where you may know about our band, Flame. That's the home of our band, Flame. And 2 of our transitions graduates are members of the band, Flame. One of them, because of his experience in transitions, he was able to travel with Flame to Cambodia, where they were invited by the US government to be envoys of art and do a 1-week tour and engagement and presentation and music with people of Cambodia. Next slide, please. So we are now taking our college and career pathways to the next level through our new Empowers grant, which we're very proud of. This nearly $1 million award will allow us to develop new career-focused micro-credentials, such as in the 6 that you see there: animal care assistant, child care assistant, food service, retail and safety, office management, business management, web development, and coding. And we're developing these in partnership with SUNY Cobleskill and SUNY FMCC. These micro-credentials will prepare students for real in-demand jobs and give them both technical training and confidence to enter the workforce. Next slide. What makes this especially meaningful is that the majority of the funding will go directly to student scholarships, ensuring that financial barriers don't stand in the way of opportunity. This investment will expand access and strengthen our inclusive workforce and change lives for years to come. As a parent of someone with neurodiversity, I am personally grateful for this and can't wait to see the change. Next slide. So we're very, very proud of the transformation we see every day at Transitions, and we are deeply grateful to you for the opportunity to share our model with you. We welcome questions, collaboration, visits if you would like, or partnering on any statewide initiative to support neurodiverse young adults. Our contact information is here. You can reach out to any one of us or go to our website for any other information. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions that we can answer, we'd be happy to.
So you couldn't hear us because we were muted. So thank you, Shaloni. That was a wonderful presentation. It's amazing the work that you all have been doing. I have a question and then I'll open it up for others. It's a really wonderful partnership that you have with the SUNY schools, and full disclosure, I sit on the SUNY board, so I'm very happy to see that partnership. Do you think there's the ability to expand it further? And if so, what can we do to help support your work?
That's the best question I could have received. So our greatest partnership and collaboration is with SUNY FMCC and SUNY Cobleskill. We are still working on it with SUNY Albany, and we would love to expand that partnership. But we need somebody like you to open doors for us.
I guess we can talk offline after the meeting.
Absolutely.
Are there other questions from the advisory board members?
Yeah, it's Michael Gilbert. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good. You guys got it working so I can talk because I was muted before. I guess the one question I have is what separates your program from a traditional high school or college transition program, and how is it funded?
Okay. So what separates us is that we look at the entire person, okay? So most programs that I have personally experienced, I have learned about, are focused on success in college or success in employment or independent living skills. We take the whole person, and our concept of the 3 R's is very different. I had mentioned that I'm personally a parent of a neurodiverse young lady. She does not have autism, but she has nonverbal learning disabilities associated with the medical condition. And just like many self-advocates and parents are told, we're always told what our son or daughter cannot do. So I was told when she was diagnosed, she cannot drive, she cannot live on her own, she cannot do higher education. So Transitions model is based on some of those successes, because that is where we practiced not just training skills, but those life principles of resiliency, of doing things that are handling change. That's a big deal. Handling lack of structure, because when you move from special education to college or work, you don't have the structure that you were used to, and then you're not successful. So it's a different model in a holistic way. How we are funded, most students that are within New York, we get students from all over the country and some from overseas. So if you are from overseas or you are from outside of New York, most students are paying privately for it, just like they would as if they were going to college. But students that are from New York State are often, if they qualify, funded through OPWDD, or sometimes the school systems fund them.
So
We
you're
also
doing,
have a scholarship program.
you're basically, you're fun. The kids, basically what I was going to ask is, the kids you're funding, are they 16, 17, or are they over 18? The kids you're, sorry, not funding, over the program.
So our age is 16 to 27. We
Okay.
offer a variety of programs. So some of them are during the summer. So the younger students that are still in high school are usually doing the summer or the winter or the weekend camps that we provide. Not camps as such, they're experiences, educational and life experiences that we provide. We do a mini curriculum, and our summer programs, they're actually earning a college credit. But our actual full year programs where they're admitted, it's after high school.
Any other questions? We have one in the room.
Thanks very much for your presentation. I was particularly interested to hear you talking about your partnerships with SUNY Cobleskill and Fulton Montgomery Community College. And I think the SUNY system is an incredible resource, and particularly because it has such a geographic spread with its 64 campuses around the state. I think it's a great partnership to expand upon. So I'll put my plug in for that. And also, certainly SUNY Cobleskill President Terenzio is just fantastic in her efforts to make the campus inclusive and to make it a truly welcoming and comfortable environment for students who have a variety of developmental and other disabilities. So I will give her a shout out too. But thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and the band flame is just superb.
Thank you. We need more President Terenzios.
Okay, Salon, we see that you have a question. Hopefully you're unmuted. Okay. Salon, did you want to ask a question?
Salon came to our program in the very early days.
Yeah, Salon, I don't know, you might be double muted. I don't know. I think you're unmuted on this end.
Oh,
I don't know. Try one more time. Not coming through. Yeah, perhaps I don't know what's going wrong technically, but perhaps we can get your question to Shalomi or your comment in another way. Yeah, or the chat. Yep. Okay. Josh, I think you have a hand up as well.
Yeah, well, I just put that down. Yeah, so basically, it's a comment. So this reminds me of, I went to a program before college. I dropped out of college, but and it was run by NYT. It's now defunct. And as someone who went to something like this, I can't begin to tell you how impactful things like this are. I went before then, never living on my own, the independent stuff, to afterwards, like it's night and day. So I just want to say that someone who's been to a similar thing, these are extremely good, and the impact is like lifelong. So really good on you guys.
thank you, Josh.
Of course.
I'm not seeing any other questions. Oh, hold on. Looks like maybe. Okay, I think somebody was answering a question in the chat. So thank you again, Shaloni, for joining us today, and also to Jordan. Thank you for your part of the presentation as well. And it sounds like we're going to be talking offline after this meeting. So I look forward to that, and congratulations on the partnership.
Truly, thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hold on. Sounds like we might have a question from Kate.
Yes, I just wanted to say it's refreshing to just more of a comment that it's just really refreshing to see a program taking a strength-based approach to this as an autistic person myself, and that um, it's nice to see things. I'm doing similar work in Western New York with younger kids. Um, so it's refreshing to see that other people are doing it and that hopefully like a shift will happen because neurodivergent children grow up to be neurodivergent adults and yeah, they still need that support. And after being told your whole life that everything about you is a deficit, um, people need spaces where they can be who they are and where they can grow from their strengths, which is why DIR floor time is also so important. So I'll be quiet now. Thank you very much for sharing.
Well, thank you, Kate. The head of our curriculum and clinical services had mentioned is a young lady who has neurodiversity herself and a true believer of a strengths-based approach. She has her doctorate in social work, and she also chose a path where she teaches as an adjunct professor at Utica University because she wants to influence social workers, because when a lot of social workers are in our field, whether they're leading it or participating as clinicians. And in her entire education, nobody taught her on how to support somebody with neurodiversity. So she's hoping to influence that. So a key component of our program is we build on successes. We don't build on challenges and needs. We build on those successes so that you can be more successful.
I would love to, I don't know if there's a way for Courtney or somehow for me to get connected to her. I would love to get
Absolutely,
connected
we
to her
can.
somehow and talk to her.
We can, and we welcome anyone who wants to visit as well.
Yeah, Kate, we'll try to make that happen. Yep. Okay. Not seeing any other questions, so thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do we jump off at this point? I don't want to. I didn't
Whatever
know
you'd
if
like, you're welcome to stay or
Okay.
go. Completely up to
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you. All right. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Kristen Proud, who I know many of you know as the Executive Director of the Council on Developmental Disabilities. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you very much, Courtney, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about the council's work this afternoon. For those of you who are not familiar with the Council on Developmental Disabilities is the relatively new name of what you may have known as the Developmental Disabilities Planning Council, or DDPC. The name was changed to the Council on Developmental Disabilities 2 years ago based on a change in state law. So we are now the CDD. I've been the executive director there not quite 2 years, having come from the Commissioner's Office in the Department of Health. And I'm found it very interesting to come and work in such a tiny state agency, having come from enormous state agencies for a good part of my career, both the Department of Health and the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. So we are now 14 strong. I've added 2 more graduate interns in the last couple of weeks. So we are 14, but we are small and mighty. I like to tell the team. So the council, if you're not aware, is one of 56 councils around the country. Every state and U.S. territory has a council, and that's pursuant to the Federal Developmental Disability Rights and Assistance Act of the year 2000. And we are primarily federally funded. The current state fiscal year is the first time we've received any state funding support, and that support is used exclusively to provide for our staffing. Our grant work is all done with federal funds that come from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, from what is currently called the Administration for Community Living. That part of HHS is the subject of a significant restructuring of HHS that I'm sure many of you have heard about, and that restructuring is the subject of ongoing litigation. So where all that stands between the litigation and the ongoing federal government shutdown is kind of anybody's best guess, but that is our federal funding source. As a result of that being our grant projects funding source. We do operate pursuant to a 5-year state plan. We are now in the beginning of our last year of the state plan. Our state plan years coincide with the federal fiscal year cycle, which is an October 1 through September 30 calendar or fiscal year rather cycle. So it does not overlap with the calendar year. It does not overlap with the state fiscal year. It all gets super confusing. But in any case, the primary work of the CDD, which is comprised of about 30 members right now, all governor appointed, and that's based on state law. And that's a composition of self-advocate members, so individuals with developmental disabilities themselves from throughout the state, family members of individuals with developmental disabilities, parents. We have a sibling member now. We have a sibling member whose developmentally disabled sibling is in his 70s, which is very interesting because then that brings the interplay of aging issues to the table. The OPWDD having the task force on aging, we at the council have a community of practice on bridging aging and disability. So it's been great to have that new member, the sibling member who brings the perspective of being a caregiver and an advocate for somebody who is significantly older with developmental disabilities. So we also have DD network members, we call them. Those are members, provider, agency, and university centers of excellence members. We have 3 of those in the state: University of Rochester, Westchester Institute for Human Development, and the Rose F. Kennedy Center, which is affiliated with the Einstein School of Medicine in the Bronx. A number of states don't have any university centers of excellence, so I consider us extremely fortunate to have our university center partners in New York, all 3 of them, which are incredible, not only provider resources, but just resources in terms of our DD network partnerships and collaborations, including our communities of practice. And then the 5th member of the DD network in New York is Disability Rights New York, which is the protection and advocacy organization in New York. And they're a fantastic partner as well. So the primary work that the council's doing is our grant work that is coming through 2 standing committees. We have the Individual and Families Committee and the Community and Systems Change Committee. Both of those committees are now chaired by self-advocate members. That's a little bit different than it was when I joined the council, but one of the things that I've tried and continue to try to do is to help our self-advocate members to develop their knowledge, their skills, both their advocacy skills, but also their leadership skills. And so we have 2 relatively young people with lived experience who are leading those 2 committees. And it's really interesting and rewarding to see the progress that they're making as they're taking things on. One of them, who was extraordinarily shy when I came to the council, now starts every committee meeting with what he calls the chair's corner. And sometimes it's about things that he's been working on or is going to be working on. He's recently become the president of his own self-advocacy organization, which is in Rensselaer County. But also sometimes he uses it as a call to action or a call for people to get involved in other issues that are affecting not only the DD community, but communities more broadly, such as Narcan training for people so that they can help others. So it's been really interesting to watch him use his committee leadership position to grow and expand his areas of interest. The IFC right now is not exclusively, but primarily focused on employment-related work. So I'll start there since we're just coming out of both the National Disability Employment Awareness Month and then, of course, the governor's designation of October as DREAM, Disability Rights and Employment Awareness Month here in New York. And I think OPWDD had a huge role in the Governor's Dream Symposium. The CDD was a co-sponsor as well. So we have 3 primary grants that are ongoing right now related to employment, and they focus each on a slightly different aspects of employment and employment opportunities. And then we have a 4th that is not so much focused on individuals with developmental disabilities, but rather on their family members, to help the family members learn some skills and identify resources so that they can help their family members not only prepare for employment, also find employment, and retain employment as well, since each of those pieces of the path to employment can be challenging, particularly for people with DD. So the apprenticeship program that we have is a partnership with the Strong Center for Developmental Disabilities, which is based at the University of Rochester. And that is an apprenticeship program for people with DD throughout the state. It provides no-cost pre-apprenticeship training to help participants build entry-level skills for careers in manufacturing in particular. And through that grant, there have been a number of collaborations, including with the Manufacturers Association of Central New York and a variety of regional associations through the Manufacturers Alliance of New York State. And there are also partnerships with post-secondary institutions and workforce development boards, trying to tackle all aspects of getting people with DD into apprenticeship programs and then linking them to employers in the manufacturing center who are, really in need of skilled labor. The second one is a mentorship program. It's called Yes, She Can. And this mentorship program pairs young women with DD in a structured mentor setting with business people, primarily in Westchester and Rockland counties. They are working on a sustainability plan to try to replicate this in other areas of the state as well. It's a 3-year program, and it's helping the young women who are the mentees to gain and retain jobs by making valuable contacts, and also learning about what it takes to be in a work environment and how to navigate not only the responsibilities of whatever the particular job is, but also the other aspects of being in a work environment, working as part of a team, when there are issues or conflicts that arise, how to manage through those. And so those young women who are in that program are partnered with women who are in the business world in a variety of industries in Rockland and Westchester counties to offer them that ongoing mentorship relationship. Then we have a partnership with SUNY Farmingdale, and that is centered around entrepreneurship and small business development. And although it's centered at SUNY Farmingdale's Small Business Development Center, that is a statewide program that involves a series of workshops that have been developed and presented to introduce the concept of entrepreneurship to people with disabilities through those small business centers that are located throughout the state. So there are consultants who are working alongside that program that provide accounting and legal assistance to participants who need additional support registering their businesses, so they can get incorporated. There are group opportunities that are facilitated through those 7 small business development centers throughout the state for meet and greet and networking and other support opportunities. And then, of course, ensuring that the individuals who are starting small businesses are doing so in a way that they don't jeopardize any of the benefit programs that they may currently be getting support from. So things like Medicaid, SSI, SNAP benefits, et cetera, which are all, as you know, really important work support programs so that people with disabilities can engage in the workforce, but still have the supports that they need to be healthy and successful. So those are the big ones from our Individuals and Families Committee. We also have, as I said, a Community and Systems Change Committee. Much of their work is focused in 2 areas, housing and then DEIA. We have a community of practice in diversity, equity, and inclusion. The grantee for that is AHRC and Nassau, and they are reaching DD providers across the state to help them refine their own knowledge of DEI practices through trainings and regional workshops. And the ultimate goal of this grant partnership with AHRC Nassau is to assist the providers as they start to formally incorporate DEI practices into their own organizations and with their own staff. We also have a DEIA related grant with the Self Advocacy Association of New York State, or SANES. And SANES, in case you're not aware, is the largest self-advocacy organization in New York State. It was founded decades ago now by Bernard Carabello, who was one of the Willowbrook class members and spent 18 years at Willowbrook, and continues to be a huge voice in the advocacy community in New York. So our grant with SANES is to bring DEIA and cultural competence trainings and discussions into their programming to help self-advocates to learn about these topics, which can be very complicated and certainly in the current environment are becoming even more complicated. SANES has incorporated these trainings into their annual leadership training segments and also highlight DEI related sessions in their annual conference, which starts this afternoon in Albany. And it is probably one of the largest conferences I have ever been to. Last year was my first year. I'll give a huge plug for SANES for doing this conference. There are over 600 attendees. It is unbelievable. I'm not sure the hotel is supposed to hold that many people, but that conference is unbelievable. And our team from the CDD who focus on DEIA will be out at the conference this afternoon doing an opening session on that very subject. We also have some bilingual housing navigation small grants that we have awarded recently to give opportunities to individuals who are working in organizations in communities where there are large populations of non-English speakers to be able to bring the concept of housing navigation and train staff to be able to help individuals with DD and their family members in the new American communities throughout New York to be able to understand what services in the housing arena are available through OPWDD and the provider network around the state and figure out what type of housing arrangement is most appropriate and then how to access those housing services. And on the subject of housing, our CSCC committee also has an ongoing partnership with the New York Alliance for Inclusion and Innovation, which is a large provider representing organization. And we have, through our partnership with the New York Alliance, creating a housing resources for independent living is essentially a portal, an online repository of information on non-certified housing options that are available for people with DD. And that is being expanded this year and next year to include other resources and also put a focus on housing resources for individuals as they are aging and their needs are changing as they are aging. And that will look both at resources to help them stay in their current setting with the necessary adaptations, or if necessary, what resources and services exist to be able to find new housing accommodations if that is the necessary scenario. So that's a snapshot of our current grant work. We also have a fair amount of communications and public-facing education and outreach going on. The CDD over the last couple of years has produced two videos. One is the Willowbrook documentary entitled A Path Forward, Remembering Willowbrook. That was produced in 2022. And actually won a New York Emmy in the DEIA category exactly a year ago. And that video chronicles the history of Willowbrook and talks about how what was happening at Willowbrook was exposed and then what came after that to bring the current system of services and supports for people with DD to where it is. And really, I think showcases the power of advocacy and activism, which are just as important now than they were all those years ago when Willowbrook was still operating as the Willowbrook State School. So that video now is over 420,000 views, and it is available on our YouTube in English, Spanish, and Chinese. And one of our latest projects is the Paul and Hava story, A Pathway to Marriage. And Paul and Hava are a married couple on the east end of Long Island. They have been married now 12 and a half years, but have been together for 20 years. Paul and Hava each have developmental disabilities. And this video chronicles their journey and challenges to both get married and then once they were finally married, to be able to live together as a married couple. And there were several months after they were married where they were not permitted to live together in their residential settings, and eventually found a provider agency that would have them live in a group home setting and support them as a married couple living together. And I'm delighted to report that Paul and Hava are on the road from Long Island with both sets of parents as we speak. They are coming up to join me tomorrow morning, and we will be the keynote at the Zanies Conference tomorrow. And I always tease them that they are the second happiest married couple that I know, and the first one being my own parents of 61 years of marriage. And so Paul and Hava's new goal is that they are going to surpass my parents in the number of years that they've been married. So I will stop there, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions or hear any comments and feedback.
Well, it's amazing what you all are doing, everything from housing to DEIA to self-advocacy. I mean, it's quite impressive. And we're so appreciative of the work that CDD does. Do we have any questions from members of the advisory board?
Kristen, it's Michael Gilbert. My only question is, given everything going on in DC right now, are you guys getting pushback over the term DEI or doing anything DEI related?
I would say that I have changed the way that I talk about it and where I talk about it. I focus more on the I and the A, Michael. So that's a great question. Thank you. And the other thing I should mention
Well,
is.
of course, because everything in the news right now, you hear the word DEI and the administration freaks out.
Correct. So we're, and our mission, right, at the council is to focus on increasing inclusivity and participation of people with DD in all aspects of community life. So it's a natural for us that we're focusing on the I and the A. That's not to the exclusion of the other letters in that acronym, but that's our focus. So we are, still moving forward with that work. That work is, in the foundation of the federal DD Act of 2000, there are numerous places where diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, those terms are actually used. So depending on where I am and the audience to whom I'm speaking, I do often cite the federal DD Act frequently, and particularly in our written documents and other things like that, and our state plan that we're developing, our new state plan, which will start in 2027 and run through 2031. We will be highlighting the fact that this work is specifically required by the DD Act of 2000. And until such time as that act changes, we will continue to do this. I will also note that there was a period earlier in this calendar year when the funding, not just for the New York Council, but the federal funding for all councils was in serious jeopardy. I'm not resting easy these days, thinking that it's a done deal, given the budget situation in Washington,
Right.
but I am
I
slightly
was going to touch
before.
on that, Kristen, because you mentioned ACL. I have a very good friend who worked at ACL until he got, laid off. And I wonder, with RFK Jr. and everything going on with autism, if that's affecting you guys in the sense of funding cuts from ACL or from HHS, given that we have this whole RFK Jr. controversy now.
The original budget document that was leaked that came from the Federal Office of Management and Budget had the DD councils, all 56 throughout the country, zeroed out, as well as all of the DD network members. So all of the protection and advocacy program funding and all of the funding for all of the university centers of excellence in DD across the country in that Office of Management and Budget document. Those were all zeroed out. That was considered the pass back, they call it, budget to HHS for HHS to comment on and send back their suggestions. And so in the budget that was released by the White House after all that internal negotiation, the council funding and some funding for the protection and advocacy organizations throughout the country and the university centers of excellence made it back in at flat funding. I mean, I will say that flat funding is flat funding for probably now the fourth year if this holds, which, we all know the power or the erosion factor of inflation, but I think in the current environment, flat funding is a best case scenario, frankly. And so, I've said to my team and to the governor's office, we have federal funding. We have an obligation while we have it from federal fiscal year 2025 to use it. We're going to continue to do our grant work, meet our obligations with our grantees as they're meeting their obligations to us and our partnership. And we'll move forward until such time as the lay of the land is different. Hopefully it's not different. Hopefully we continue to receive funding. In the whole scheme of things, Michael, the national appropriation for all 56 councils is a total of $81 million.
Right.
We're not going to balance the federal budget on that.
I understand that. I'm just saying, because we know RFK Jr. in particular has shown this hostility with this nonsense about Tylenol and circumcision and other stuff, to see them say, and they seem more focused on what causes autism than actually addressing the need for services for people on the spectrum.
Thank you for your comments.
Wait, did you guys hear what I just said?
Say that again?
Did you hear my last comment? Or I didn't know if my last comment made it through or cut out.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very important, timely question. Are there any other comments or questions for Kristen? Okay, well, keep up the good work. We really appreciate everything that you and the council do. So thank you. I think we are skipping the next agenda item to move to the resolution. And so I first want to start by thanking Josh Mirsky and his work on this topic and making sure it stayed top of mind for all of us, and to some members of the advisory board who helped as a subgroup to work through the issue and come up with this resolution. I think many of you know we sent the resolution out in October so that everybody had time to review it. And it relates to a request from this board that the Empire State Plaza, the Empire State Building, Niagara Falls, and other landmarks around New York State would be illuminated in red, white, and gold on World Autism Day in 2026. And that the board invites and encourages all local governments, business owners, landmark operators, and New Yorkers to use red, white, and gold lighting on World Autism Day, which is, for those of you who don't know, okay, it's up there on the screen, is April 2nd, for the purpose of creating that message around unity, support, and collective pride across the state. And so I don't know if there's any other comments on that. I was going to call for a vote in favor of the resolution. So are there any other comments before we call for the vote?
Just one comment on a spelling naming issue. At the very bottom where we've got New York City, Long Island sites, it names the Throngs Neck Bridge, and it should be the Throgs Neck Bridge. So before we vote on it, I just want to make that comment for correction.
Appreciate that. Thank you for attention to the detail. Any other comments before I call for a vote? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Well, it seems that we have unanimous passage of the new resolution. Thank you. Congratulations, Josh and team.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the original behind me. I made in October 2021.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, at this point, I wanted to open the floor to any member who wants to add any items or raise any issues. I think, Kate Kaufman, you had potentially an issue related to the Safe Foods Pantry, but I want to misspeak. So, Kate, why don't we start with you, and then we'll see if there are any other members who want to speak.
Hi. Yep. Thank you.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me a few minutes. First, I want to talk about a project that I've developed through my own business, Rooted Beginnings, called the Beige Box Initiative. And this initiative was born out of something that I see over and over again in my work as a special education teacher. with families of autistic and neurodivergent children who are technically eligible for food assistance, but still can't access food that their children can actually eat. I also want to share that I'm autistic myself. I think that's an important part of this initiative. Having the lived experience has given me insight into the very real ways that the world can feel unpredictable and overwhelming. And that's what inspired the idea for this initiative. It also underscores why it is so critical to shift to a strength-based lens in autism work, one that recognizes that people with lived experience often are the experts on what we need, including those voices at the table, isn't just valuable, it's essential for creating systems that truly support autistic individuals. For many autistic individuals, eating is not just about nutrition, it's about safety, predictability, and regulation. They often rely, we often rely on safe foods, foods that are consistent and familiar every single time. These might be beige, crunchy, or brand specific, like goldfish crackers or a certain mac and cheese that always tastes the same, or a sour gummy. That's for me. I often use the goldfish versus blueberry analogy to explain this. A goldfish cracker tastes the same every time. It's the same shape, texture, flavor, and color, especially if you've got a kid that's going to tell you that they only like the cheddar kind, right? Which is typically what happens with kiddos like me and people I'm talking about. So that is very predictable. A blueberry, on the other hand, changes. Sometimes it's sweet, tart, firm, sometimes it's mushy. And for someone whose nervous system is already experiencing the world as unpredictable, that kind of variability can be overwhelming. We can all relate to comfort items in our own lives, a pint of ice cream or grandma's chicken noodle soup. These foods bring calm because they're familiar and predictable. For many autistic individuals, food is one of the things that can provide the same sense of safety and regulation. That is why having access to safe foods can literally be the difference between eating orally and needing a feeding tube. And I speak to this as someone who has as a teacher, has had children in my care who have needed feeding tubes because their diets are so restricted. It's also why safe foods are so tightly tied to regulation and behavior. When a child doesn't have foods they can rely on, it affects their nervous system, their emotional state, and their behavior. The Beige Box initiative is about raising awareness of this need and partnering with established food pantries and organizations. Here in Western New York, I'm going to be partnering, my first partner is Sensational Fun, which is a nonprofit here. And our goal is to identify, collect, and distribute safe foods while also educating people about why this matters. We're not creating a new system. We want to help make existing systems more inclusive, trauma-informed, and neuro-affirming. Awareness and understanding are the first step in this program. So my hope is that people will maybe go to my Facebook page and see what the Beige Box initiative is all about, and start an initiative in your own area. If you want to email me, I'm happy to provide you with like educational information to share with pantries in your area. And then I also wanted to share a brief update on the DIR floor time bill, which is very close to my heart. And as a reminder, the floor time bill is a developmental individualized relationship-based approach that supports children through play and connection. I know we spoke about the bill, or I've spoken about it before, and right now it's really had a lot of movement. 3/4 of the assembly members on the insurance committee have now signed on. The bill currently has 23 sponsors across the state and assembly and continues to gain sponsors. Parents and self-advocates are encouraged to contact their legislators directly. And yeah, you guys letting me share this, and my hope for me is that you know, we can continue to raise awareness, build partnerships, and include lived experience in every step of what we do, particularly while we're navigating autism in a world that is not predictable, and have access to not
just food, but to the predictability, safety, and safety committee. So thank you.
Thank you, Kate. You're doing some amazing work, and it's really good to know about this. So I heard you say that if people have questions or if they want to take advantage of either one of the initiatives and do something in their area, that they can get in touch with you. So
Yeah.
excellent. Anybody from the advisory board have any comments, questions for Kate?
One. I think it's important that we just talked about this because I know with me, like food and texture, and anyone who's known me since I was a little kid, knows like the reason I never had vegetables like lettuce and stuff is because the texture is like unbearable for me. So talking about like food and texture, it's something that's not spoken about enough in the community. And I can imagine that a lot of other people on the spectrum and a lot of family members of people on the spectrum can probably relate to this one. That with quote safe foods and all that, it's definitely something which isn't talked about, I don't think, enough, but it's really good to bring this up.
Agreed. Great point. Thank you, Josh, for sharing your own experience. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Kate. I think at this point in time, are there any other folks? Oh, I'm sorry. Charlie, you also wanted to speak.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I just, I put some brief prepared comments together just so I stay on track and really help stay focused and explain the vision clearly. So this is based on over the past year through both my experiences with my son Stephen and countless conversations with families and providers. I've seen a growing concern that individuals living in certified housing often have little or no real choice in how they spend their days. Too often, their only option is the day program attached to their residence. While these programs are filled with caring staff, they can be repetitive, isolating, and often disconnected from each person's interests or strengths. And the results are pretty predictable, especially in my son. Individuals disengage, behaviors increase, and staff becomes overwhelmed trying to manage challenges that might not exist in a more fulfilling setting. When people are given choice and variety, whether it's music, animals, art, volunteering, or physical activity, everything changes. Behaviors decline, engagement improves, staff morale rises, and everyone really benefits. From an economic standpoint, it's not about new spending, it's about using existing resources more effectively. Every individual in certified housing already has funding for day program. Allowing that funding to be used flexibly, more traditional, part traditional day hab, part individualized community activities, can actually lower total system costs by reducing behavioral incidents and expensive crisis interventions, improving staff retention and lowering turnover costs, and producing stronger long-term outcomes that reduce reliance on higher cost services. This really is an efficiency and outcomes issue, not a budget issue. That's why I'm asking that the board take a leadership role by recommending OPWDD pilot a flexible, person-centered day program model for individuals in certified housing. And I'm also proposing that we establish a day service innovation subcommittee under this board to collaborate with OPWDD and provider partners on designing this pilot. If we can make this change, we can directly improve the daily lives of thousands of individuals and families and make New York a model for compassionate, cost-effective innovation. So thanks for letting me share those ideas. And I think this is certainly impactful for so many families that are in certified housing that need opportunity and need choice that they just don't have today.
Has had subcommittees. We had one on housing a few years ago. And you were proposing specifically a day services innovation committee is what I heard you say. And I'm certainly very open to that, and having people who would be interested in joining you to have a conversation of what would that look like and how could we have a constructive conversation in order to present some ideas to the agencies. So I think that's what we should do is set that up. And I think I see at least one hand up from a member of the advisory board. Oh, Steve.
Are you
Steve.
referring to me?
Yes, Stephen.
Okay, yes. I wanted to address, there's seems to be quite a big issue with Medicaid. People not being able to get through to Medicaid. In April, I turned 65, which changed my Medicaid status, and I had to set up a pooled trust, which was set up by May. There were several attempts to fax the trust documents to the local Medicaid office here in New York, and 3 times over 2 months it was faxed. They never claimed they never received it. So I went with my care coordinator at 9 o'clock in the morning and personally dropped off the documents, have a receipt for it. And since from like May to now, no one's been able to get through to Medicaid. I've called, been on hold for hours. My care coordinator, care coordinators have their own telephone number. They can't get through, and it's not just me. No one can get through to Medicaid people. In my case, it's I've lost self-direction in other waiver services, at least temporarily. Other people have completely lost their Medicaid. No one can get through.
Yeah, so I think you may not be alone in people having challenges with the Medicaid paperwork and redeterminations and all of that. I'm wondering if we have ideas about what ways this committee specifically could help with that issue.
Well, actually, right around we had, I think in April, we had one of these meetings. And I asked about, because there was concern with the new administration that things like this might happen. And we were told, well, I asked if there's a contingency plan. We were told that in May there'd be a contingency plan, and there doesn't seem to be one.
Well, I thank you for bringing the issue up again. I am not recalling exactly what was promised at the May meeting. I think I would go back to the minutes and take a look to see, but I think it's important that you're raising it, that it's still an issue. And to the degree that this board can have any impact on that, I'd like to explore what we could do. I'm not sure what that would be, but appreciate you raising awareness about the challenges that you and I'm sure many other people are having with the paperwork.
It's very frustrating. And it's not like I thought, I'm putting in the effort. I'm sitting on hold for hours at a time. My care coordinator is sitting on the hold for hours at a time, and no one can get through. And we've gone in person. Well, thank you for looking into it.
Yeah, let's follow up with you after the meeting, see if there's anything else that we can do to be helpful.
Courtney, just to go back, and I'm sorry not to, but are you in favor of this subcommittee for what I was discussing, just so I close that loop?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think you proposed it. I'm very open to that. I think we should, via email, find out who on the advisory board would be interested in joining that subcommittee to close the loop on that.
Thank you.
Kate, I think you had a hand up, or?
I just want to get in touch with Charlie after this meeting about the pilot program. I want to talk to him a little bit more.
Sure.
And I'd like to be part of that subcommittee.
Excellent. Thank you for volunteering. And Charlie and Kate, I'd like to join you as well. All right. Any other items for open discussion from the board today? Okay. Well, this was some really important issues that were raised. So thank you for all those who raised issues today and for the work that's being done in some other areas. So we're going to move to public comments, and normally with public comments, we limit folks to 3 minutes. We will start with anybody who's in the room. And typically we don't take questions. It's usually just for people to be able to air concerns or ideas. And so again, just limit comments to 3 minutes and we'll start to see if there's anybody here in the room who would like to make public comments. Yeah, well, there's a microphone up here if you want to come to that.
Short person.
Yeah. that
Okay,
would be
that
above my
good?
head. Yes.
Good. Well, first of all, I want to thank you. This is the first time I've attended one of these meetings. And it's really terrific. It's very exciting to me to hear what people are talking about. I get very emotional talking about this. I'm both an autism professional and I also have a 35-year-old daughter with very high needs who's in a group home. And so I wanted to make a comment about the subcommittee. I'm going to try to go fast. It may sound like it's contradictory to what Charlie said, but it's really not. It just expands it a little bit. And that is that I have found that in the name of expanding residents' ability to make choices, sometimes folks are too quick to allow them to not do things if there are negative behaviors. I know for me, I'm pretty good at helping my daughter to be able to expand what she does a bit. But it takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of breaking down, and it takes a little bit of willingness to go through that process. Unfortunately, the extent to financing in these kinds of settings has an effect on people's training in terms of doing these kinds of things. But so, you know, I would really like to be able to see, in addition to providing more choice, to helping people with very high needs and restricted behaviors to expand their worlds, to have more choices without automatically deciding that they're making a choice not to do something. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent point. And thank you for joining us today. I'm glad that you found out about the advisory board.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the input, very much so. Anybody else? I don't think so in the room here for public comment, so we'll go online to see if anybody else, we have some hands raised.
All right, so thank you, everyone. If you are interested in giving public comment, you can you can raise your hand. So if you go to the bottom of your screen where it has the mute button, there's a little hand that you can click to raise your hand. Right now we have 2 in the room, but feel free to keep raising your hands. And as Courtney said, this is a comment period, so we will no staff and no members of the board will be responding to questions. So first we have Molly. Molly, you are unmuted and should be able to start.
Oh, I just had a question earlier, but if you're not responding to questions, then
You can put the question in the chat, Molly.
I did.
That would work. Okay, great. We'll take a look. And next up is Susanna. And Susanna, you're unmuted.
I don't have a question. I already placed my questions on the chat, but since I have the opportunity, I just wanted to let you know that if you like help with a Medicaid issue, I actually had to learn the hard way and I know how to do it. If you want to reach out, I'm more than happy to guide you or give you some hints so that you can maybe help other families. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna. Is there anyone else that would like to do a public comment today? We'll give you another minute.
Doesn't look like we have any other public comments. So as a reminder, we do have our schedule of upcoming meetings for 2026. The meetings will be January 7th, April 22nd, July 22nd, and October 21st. And we typically try to, oh, here they are on the screen. Try to do them from 12 to 2 for anybody who's traveling to give them adequate time to get here and home. So if there's nothing else for today, this has been an excellent meeting. Really, I love the presentations today. So thank you to all of our presenters. And I hope everybody has a safe and happy holidays between now and next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.